Hello, you stunning bunch of denizens. Welcome to another former network executive reaction. This is going to be a bit of a rant, so buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. While covering the wokification of Amazon's Tolkien efforts, Cowboy Bebop, and pick any recent Star Trek, many of you in my comment sections, well, you complained, you wrote that I'd been making too big a deal about SJWs in Hollywood. Still others asked, how does one combat this creeping SJW infestation? And finally, how do ultra-woke shows like Star Trek Discovery stay on the air when they're not making any money? Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for the last question. Perhaps BlackRock Investment put a wad of cash into Paramount's G-string to keep it afloat. Who knows? From my experience, it was not out of the realm of credulity for a network to keep a limping show going just long enough to have enough shows in the can for syndication. But in this era of paywalled streamers, I have no idea what the benefits would be to Paramount Plus because they're not going to syndicate it, well, maybe to North Korea. Anyway, back to the main rodeo, or as they say in LA, rodeo. SJWs, are they the monstrosities I've made them out to be? Now, I've spent the last few weeks thinking a lot about this and reading about this predicament, and I've come to the unfortunate conclusion that things are far worse than anyone realizes. We might not be at war with the social justice warriors, but they are at war with us. Through our goodwill and our natural tendency to be accommodating, we have let the wolf into the henhouse. There's no negotiating with this cult. Their secret weapon is that they don't give a fuck about us, or our opinions, or the properties we cherish and love. I'm being deadly serious. The idea for doing this video coalesced from a comment by Raymond Smith. In essence, he wrote that for a long time, activists and intellectuals ignored nerd and geek culture and the stuff we liked because it was considered beneath them. They derided Star Wars, Star Trek, comic books, science fiction, fantasy, superheroes, video games, and even more recently, thought our obsession with the movie version of Lord of the Rings was childish. But as the success of LOTR, the Marvel Universe, video games, Comic-Con, etc. continued to build and infiltrate regular society, the SJWs were appalled and decided to put a stop to it by infiltrating these businesses and deliberately poisoning them because, first of all, they didn't like us, and they were jealous of the mainstreaming of our childhood pastimes. All they ever saw was misogyny, a lack of diversity, and not enough rainbow. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that that wasn't entirely true, but the solution was not to destroy it all. But they can't help themselves because they hate the original creators because they are incapable of creating anything original. They are motivated by resentment, not joy, and certainly not the joy all these properties have given us. Success for them is representation or complete destruction. That's it. And I would hazard a guess that Kathleen Kennedy harbored years of resentment towards George Lucas and could hardly wait for the opportunity to kill off Luke and Han and make the Force female. And it hasn't been just, our favorite nerdy pastimes that's been infiltrated. If you just pay some attention to commercials, we have gone from a mostly whitewashed misrepresentation of North American society to a new misrepresentation where every couple is now multiracial and or multisexual or both or what, I can't tell. Of course, we're getting all of this because every multinational corporation is getting on the diversity is our greatest strength bandwagon. Seriously, I don't care, but wouldn't having a German, a Pole, and a Finn on TV be ethnically diverse? Technically, yes, but that doesn't count. So how did we get here? Near as I can figure, I think it goes back to grade school and high school when we stopped teaching things like metal shop, woodworking, home ec, as they called it back in my day. I took it. Typing, music, civics, organized sports. We learned practical skills. At some point, most of those subjects disappeared. They had to be replaced by something, right? So they were replaced by social justice-oriented subject matter. And after that was successfully tucked into the curriculum, math and science had to be decolonized because some were good at it and some were bad. And if you were bad at it, it was because of the patriarchy and ignored lived experiences. And it was around this time girls were given an extra STEM boost, and boys were ignored and left to rot. And so we have what I think are the origins of the social justice movement, or infection as I call it. A whole bunch of children who were not taught to do anything practical, who were now being molded by social justice topics that were ideologically compatible with the schools and the teachers' politics. So now, these brainwashed little urchins end up in colleges and universities, listening to the postmodernist socialist ravings of their professors. I had them, but in the past, upon graduation, soon either forgot about all that nonsense or got a job, a spouse, a mortgage, and real life beat all that SJW shit out of them. The problem is, I see it as that the kind of work that might have knocked some sense into these idealistic numbskulls in the past, well, it's dried up or has been shipped off to other countries. And what we have left are soft businesses like entertainment, marketing agencies, what remains of the book publishing industry, the gig economy, low-wage online journalism, and to a certain degree programming. They lack any reality readjustment capability. So the SJWs maintain their woke indoctrination. And none of them make enough money to afford a house, let alone risk getting married and having children. And frankly, much of that is not their fault. But what we're left with is a large volume of SJW pupa stuck forever in their cocoon stage. And they're never going to leave their cocoons. We are fighting an ideology that requires total adherence, no deviation. Wokeness is merciless. Unlike all those religions out there, which I have no time for, at least religion offers a way to get back in if you stray. Confess your sins. Do penance. Put an extra 20 in the plate. Wokeness does not have this mechanism. You stray, you leave, and you turn in your earlobe expansion ring. And because there does not seem to be any consequences in Hollywood, at least, I think it is only going to get worse. When we complain on Twitter about one of our cherished properties being ruined, we are immediately accused of being racists or Nazis. A neutral view means you're a Nazi. The woke want to burn everything down in an orgy of self-loathing. At our esteemed Royal Ontario Museum, they had a seminar titled Awakening Public Art. The description was, how can public art projects be reimagined following the principles of anti-oppression, anti-colonialism, and anti-racism to create a new world where art is accessible and everyone feels valued and worthy? Yes. That was exactly what Picasso was thinking after he finished a bottle of wine, banged his mistress before picking up a paintbrush. That is just a sampling of the bullshit that has infiltrated government, many businesses, our schools, and Hollywood in particular. Our school boards here are a complete indoctrinated parody. No one is allowed to question forced diversity programs or hiring policies. It's hilarious listening to guilty white school trustees twist themselves into rhetorical knots to demonstrate their allyship. When I was in grade 6, we were taught civics. We had a mock election. 12-year-old candidates had to debate against each other. Could you imagine a grade 6 class doing that now? The school would be airlifting in grief counselors for the kids who didn't win the mock election. No, I don't see Hollywood getting any better. Only worse. The one saving grace is that it needs so much product that there is no way that it has the time or the resources to turn every effort into a Star Trek Discovery. Anyways, that's the end of my rant. Thank you very much for listening. You denizens are wonderful. I do have a request. Initially, I am going to open up the comments section, but if I find that it becomes too much of a Wild West and I have to delete too many of the comments, I'm just going to shut it down. So please be thoughtful and respectful, and I hope to be able to read your comments. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.